We consume sugar at a scale that was once impossible. In 1600, the average European ate about 87 grams of it annually. Today, that number has reached 40 kilos per person every single year. That massive increase in demand transformed sugar. It began as a rare luxury for the aristocracy, but as the Industrial Revolution required more manual labor at lower costs, it became a high-energy fuel for the working classes. To supply that energy, European powers built the plantation model. They cleared primary forests across the Americas and forcibly transported millions of enslaved Africans to plant, harvest, and boil the cane. But in the 18th and 19th centuries, the industry faced an existential crisis. The Haitian Revolution and global abolition movements effectively brought the legal trade in human beings to a halt. An industry built entirely on enslaved labor should have collapsed when that labor was outlawed, but the sugar economy found a way to survive and even expand. The industry's first survival tactic was to transfer the financial burden of freedom onto the newly liberated, while rewarding those who had enslaved them. France demanded 150 million gold francs from Haiti just to recognize its independence. This forced the new nation to take out high-interest loans from the very banks in Paris that were financing French industrial growth. Simultaneously, the French government paid out 126 million gold francs, about 7. This established a strategy for the future. When legal slavery ends, find a legal loophole to keep workers bound to the land. In this photograph from 1901, the back-breaking nature of the harvest looks exactly as it did a century prior. By the late 19th century, the center of sugar power shifted to the United States, where consumption was growing 12 times faster than the population. The industry consolidated under corporate giants. Henry Osborne Havemeyer created the American Sugar Refining Company, a monopoly that controlled nearly every refinery in the country and operated with the influence of a modern state. These corporations maintained profits by sourcing labor from the most vulnerable populations, often utilizing temporary migrant programs that denied workers the protections of standard labor laws. In 1989, a class action lawsuit revealed that 20,000 Jamaican cane cutters in Florida were being systematically underpaid. They worked in the sun for 7 days a week, but their employers manipulated the piece rate prices to keep wages well below the legal minimum. The modern legal contract became the mechanism to guarantee cheap labor. While the companies grew into billion-dollar empires, the families living on the edge of the plantations remained in the same cycle of poverty that their ancestors faced. When manual labor became too expensive or legally risky, the industry turned to mechanization. But even as machines replaced people, the costs of production were still being forced onto marginalized communities. In Florida's Muck City, corporations burn the fields before the harvest to clear away debris. This deliberate practice blankets predominantly Black and low-income communities in toxic ash for 8 months of the year, leading to higher cancer rates and respiratory failure. Globally, the industry has pivoted to green energy. In Brazil, sugar is processed into ethanol to power cars, but the scale of this monoculture is driving massive deforestation and intensifying the droughts that cause uncontrollable wildfires. These environmental costs represent a modern version of the original plantation logic. The industry thrives by extracting energy from the land while forcing the most vulnerable people to live in the smoke. Over 500 years, the sugar industry has demonstrated a relentless ability to adapt. It traded the physical chains of the plantation for the invisible weight of debt, wage manipulation, and environmental degradation. The concentrated power once held by the master in the big house has simply moved into the boardroom of the modern global conglomerate. Generations of enslavement left a financial vacuum for the workers and a mountain of capital for the masters. The sugar economy pioneered a method of extreme extraction, one where human labor and the land are treated as disposable fuels. Today, that method remains the standard for how global industries adapt and thrive at any human cost.